If 2025 has a single word associated with it, I would say that word is taste. It is this year that we get a little bit of a taste of a world that we are going to dive into much more fully once we get into 2026, and in particular, a little bit of a taste of how different the world is set to be once we get to the end of the decade. I've been saying for a while now that the world we began the 2020s with will be a very different world that we end the 2020s with. Well, this week on March 30th, right out of the gate, as Neptune dips into the sign of Aries, dips out of the very last sign of the zodiac and steps into the very first sign of the zodiac. The god of the seas, of emotion, of a desire to merge with all things, well, moving into a sign that is about the individual. It's about being fired up and trusting your own instincts and going exactly where it is that you feel called to go, no matter what anybody else is doing. Well, on the surface, it might look like a contradiction, but actually this is about an awakening for all of us in one way or another. And that awakening is ultimately to understand what your own personal spiritual mission just might be. The trick is, though, to be honest with ourselves. Where is it that our mission awakening is leading us on a pathway towards greater love and greater wisdom? And where is it taking us off that path? Well, that will be a way in which we can strive to be honest with ourselves. The right path will be loving. However, when it is that we're all caught up in what it is we want, what's got us fired up, sometimes it's hard to see things from that healthy detachment that love sometimes requires, that wisdom asks us to cultivate. And yet here we are, a brand new spiritual sense of what could be possible for us individually and collectively is on the horizon now. Now, how Neptune in Aries speaks to you in your sign depends on your sun, moon, and rising sign. Take all three into consideration and synthesize the information to make it unique to you. And of course, if you want even more insights, check out your horoscope up right now for the month ahead on my YouTube channel, Nadiya Shah. And you can get exclusive horoscopes over in the superstar space at thefutureismagical.com. And actually, to look at Neptune and Aries for your sign, I talked about it in the Decade Ahead horoscopes over on my website, nadiyashah.com. Aries, Neptune can be inspired. It can awaken a spiritual feeling within you, but it can also be rather confusing. In fact, sometimes you don't even realize you are in a Neptune transit while you're in it until it's actually over and the skies clear, the clouds clear, as they say. So make sure you're just being really kind and patient with yourself, knowing that sometimes you won't know if it's inspiration, if it's a message from the divine, or if it's your own fear that might be coloring your self-concept. But where it is that you are grounding your identity and your priorities in, wanting to align with a higher, more loving vision for your life, that's when you're on the right track. So be diligent with being honest with yourself. If you find yourself getting dogmatic to try and make sense of what can feel like a deluge of emotion, well, that could have you reverting to ultimately lesser forms of expression, of understanding divine energy. But where it is that you find yourself growing more compassionate with yourself and with others, well, that'll really help you to bring forward qualities within yourself that you want to magnify that much more. Taurus, with Neptune moving into the sign just before yours, this part of the sky is all about what's happening on levels of soul, psyche, and spirit, but it's also about the unconscious, what you don't necessarily know in a very conscious or immediate sense, which means that your dreams are about to get wild, are about to get super vivid. But it's also possible for some Taurians, there might be moments over the next few years where you find your fears getting particularly strong as well. I'm so sorry to say. So how do you move through that? Well, you acknowledge through diligent self-honesty, where it is perhaps that you are telling yourself it's one thing, it's a message, but it's just your own fears, your own desire to create structure where it feels that there's just a strong sense of a lot happening within that you can't quite put your finger on. For all that though, this can be remarkable energy for stream of consciousness creation, whether that's writing or art in just about any form. You're able to just be a conduit to bring forward really profound manifestations that help you to feel like you touched the divine. Gemini, Neptune moving into a friendship part of your sky means either that friends, well, who was a friend, who is a friend, and who isn't, well, it just isn't very clear. Sometimes it's going to feel as if certain friends are facilitating a moment of salvation for you, a moment of rescuing you, or at times you might feel the need to rescue one of them. But it's also possible, and I'm so sorry to say, that you might just get swindled, as well as Neptune represents a lack of clarity all around, a weaving of illusion. And that's when it becomes that much more important to strive to stay grounded and true to you. Strive to be rooted in a sense of whom it is that you know yourself to be in the context of your friendships. Where friends demonstrate great compassion, but patience, well, that's when you know that those might be friendships you want to cherish. But where it is that you're finding yourself being self-sacrificing of those things that maybe you just don't have to give, let that be your moment of truth that tells you that there are certain things that some people need to do on their own if they're going to reap maximum benefit. Strive to find that balanced sense of understanding, and your friendships will become that much more meaningful, that much more richer. Cancer, career, social standing, life purpose, and your understanding of a higher, more loving vision for your life. Well, it's all going to get this spiritual infusion. In the best possible sense, you'll be able to weave an illusion to accomplish greater success than you've known before, maybe even aligning with fame by using certain mediums that are part of weaving illusion, like video, like photography, right? All these illusionary types of endeavors, or even healing types of endeavors, are where success becomes that much more possible for you. However, this is also a symbol for trusting a higher, more loving vision for your life, and trying not to tell the universe too strictly what it is you think success should be for you. That's when you set yourself up for disappointment. Now, you do want to be careful with bosses and people in positions of authority. Are they being straightforward with you or not? Certain authority figures, well, it might feel that you end up feeling swindled in some way, or that they weren't straightforward with you where they really should have been. For all that though, where it is that you aspire to be a boss, to be someone in a position of authority, let higher spiritual principles guide you along that path, and you align with a more idealized sense of success than you knew before. Leo, long distance travel, immigration, citizenship, higher learning, legal matters, but mainly this is about faith. This is about your understanding of the world spiritually, religiously, philosophically, politically as well. And you might find yourself very wound up by a sense of ethics or morality or belief. You just want to be a little bit careful with this, right? Either things become way too relative so that morality doesn't matter anymore, or you become way too self-righteous where you're not able to let in other world views. And it can be belief in spirituality that ends up being an escape route to avoid actually acknowledging other types of disappointments that you might have felt or experienced, or to mask your own unhappiness as well. But where it is that you're embracing a spirit of adventure, you might find all kinds of new journeys up ahead, metaphorical and literal. And no matter how mundane it appears on the surface, those journeys could end up being spiritual pilgrimages for you in some way as well. Be mindful of taking on legal matters, for example, or even if you are involved in institutes of higher learning, As much as this can be a sense of feeling as if you're able to really make gains, you're able to ride a very high wave, this can also suggest losses in those areas. So pace yourself and be yourself, but also strive to stay true to yourself, holding on to your own ethics, and where those ethics align you with a more compassionate stance, well, that's when you're on the right track. Virgo, profound change, truth, transformation, regeneration, and wealth. That's what this part of the sky covers. And with Neptune, not a whole lot is very clear. So the great thing about this energy is it can be very healing to a sense of where it is you are ready to embrace healthy transformation. If you are involved in a transformative process, well, whether it's psychological, physical, or otherwise, like miracle transformations and healings can occur now. This can also be an idealization of power as you uniquely define it, or you embracing it and being seen as a benevolent figure of power in your own realm of influence. Because this part of the sky has to do with financial institutions, so everything from grants, loans, bursaries, loans, credit cards, benefits you qualify for. With Neptune, not a whole lot is clear, so you just want to be careful there. Strive to stay honest with yourself about all financial matters. This can be wonderful for paying off certain loans, almost feeling as if you are free of them, cleansed of what it is that you might owe other people or institutions. But it can also be not realizing that something isn't quite right, or certain terms of some agreements that end up costing you way more than you anticipated. So strive to stay honest with you and where it is that you're using this energy for personal self-realization. Well, that's where you're likely to find yourself changing in ways that move you closer to your understanding of the divine itself. Libra, partnerships of all kinds, whether business or love. In fact, this is the idealization of the other, feeling as if someone else is going to rescue you, feeling you found a soulmate. The thing is, though, you want to see some other energies kick in to really feel like whom you are with, or whom you're connecting with even, is someone of real substance, or is it just a dream? Is it just an illusion, something you're telling yourself, or an illusion that they might be weaving? It's hard to see other people clearly, and where you're putting people on a pedestal, which becomes more likely here, that's where you really need to be careful now. But for all that, this can move you in a direction of wanting to align with genuine spiritual partners, wanting to feel a sense of shared spiritual direction. And if it is that you're open to that possibility, well, you can find even richer connections up ahead. It is going to mean you have to get over this hump of illusion of your own fantasy, your own desire. But once you do, you might find partnerships to be profoundly healing forces in your life, that much more richer and meaningful as well. Scorpio, clients, customers, coworkers, immediate supervisors, these people are those whom either you will feel a sense of spiritual kinship and connection, or there'll be a sense that one or more of one of these types of people isn't being straightforward with you. That's the thing with this. There's just such hope. There's such an idealization that you are inclined to see the best in people, to see people from that perspective of their spiritual path, that you don't realize where they have human frailty. But that lesson might be hard won. For all that, though, this can be truly rewarding experiences where it comes to doing work that feels like it's that much more blessed, rich with spiritual meaning and purpose. For all that, though, this part of the sky also has to do with health. Now, this can bring with it mysterious ailments that can leave just as quickly. Faith healing becomes possible as well, but so can deluding yourself as to what the right treatment really is for you. So strive to take a more balanced approach, complementing practical ways of going about healing if you should need it, and well-being with faith is the way in which you can move towards a greater sense of overall well-being now. Sagittarius, romance, flirtation, and fun. Certain flirtatious moments might feel like an opportunity of great healing, spiritual bliss even as well, and great fun, where you find yourself all caught up in a moment, swept up off your feet. But remember, for every high, there is a low. And that's the great lesson of Neptune. And so enjoy yourself, have fun, whether romantically or outside of that. But also understand that every moment of elation is necessarily going to need balance. And the tendency is there to move towards escapism by going way out and way too far, whether that's with romance or just in activities that you feel are fun for you to do. Life, when balanced, is that much more rewarding overall. Now, creatively, this can be incredibly healing and hopeful energy, where you find yourself plugging into source, being able to create from that space of sort of a natural stream of consciousness, if you will, that is also able to reach that many more people than you have before. Capricorn, home, the past, your living situation, your family of origin, your parents in particular. This is about reconciling with and healing your past. It's connecting with your ancestors, the soul and spirit of them, and recognizing how you embody the best of them and letting the rest go, whatever you don't need to carry into your future. But where it is that you can benefit from what was before, well, that's where your spirit really starts to shine, bringing a more compassionate lens to you in the past, your parents. That can be part of what helps you to be that much more present, creating a home that feels like a sanctuary of sorts, feels like a temple might be part of your inspiration now. A spiritual home-based business might be part of what especially inspires you to create in your own time and space a more rewarding life ahead. Aquarius, siblings, cousins, neighbors, these relationships are about to get a whole lot more healing, or lessons in powerlessness can be part of the energy of this time. But for all that, your mind starts to think much more symbolically, much more compassionately as well. Whether or not you've ever been inclined towards writing, speaking, teaching, or self-expression in that way, you just might surprise yourself with how much it is that you have to say, how much it is you have to communicate, and how colorful those words can be. It is as if you are able to see with eyes of divine love. You're able to see the divine everywhere you look. That helps you to recognize in those smallest moments just how blessed you really are. Now, for all that, if it is that you desire to improve relationships with the type of people I just mentioned, it is going to require more open-heartedness, but this is where you start to see the spiritual lessons behind certain connections that might have been challenging, with an infusion of compassion, become more rewarding. Pisces, with Neptune leaving your sign, in an instant you might feel as if something within you just wakes right up, becomes a lot more clear. But now that Neptune dips into a financial part of your sky, it's about bringing a spiritual lens to your finances. And it is about being honest with yourself about what's worth doing for money and what isn't, and wanting to do something that feels spiritually rewarding, that feels blessed in some way, is going to be part of the mission of this time. For all that, this can be a time when it feels as if the tides of great prosperity come in, but they can go out as well. There's not a lot of stability where it comes to Neptunian energy, but where it is you are rooting how you earn money and how you spend money, whether it is in healing or art or spirituality, well, that's when the potential is there for you to find yourself creating that much more abundance for yourself now. Thank you for watching. It'll be a great transit. Enjoy.